Hi, everyone. We want to welcome you to a new live online course with Svagito. And this time it's about healing the wound of unworthiness and shame. Please tell us more, Svagito.
Hello. Yeah, I think this is a very general subject, which is good for everybody to look into because to different degrees, we all have an issue around self-worth. And the reason is mainly because we all have been conditioned how we should be. So in other words, we get a wound that as we are not valuable or worthy. And this plays a big part in our life. Of course, some people, for them, it's very traumatic and has a bigger impact, and for other people, less. But more or less, to different degrees, we all have to look into that. Means uh, what we learned, how we should be, and not supported into our essential being. And that is the root cause of unworthiness wound.
Mm. So, how would you say that that shows up in people's lives? Like, what are the problems people have regarding
Well,
this?
one thing is one starts either feeling very depressed or negative about oneself and have the negative beliefs or the self-talk that I'm not good enough, or I'm not doing right, or one is overly self-critical. Or the opposite, one compensates and one always tries to prove how great one is. And this is like a compensation. And then one is always stressed and trying to prove how great one is. And then this is also, the reason is also unworthiness. No? So these are the two ways how it shows in life usually. First of all, it needs a little introspection. That means you need to look at yourself and look at and acknowledge that I have a wound or a problem here or something. And then one has to find out, no, where does this wound come from? Usually it is from early life, childhood, and it is often because we have a personal experience or condition by our parents, or we take it over from our parents because, of course, it is also transgenerational because parents have a self-worth wound themselves, and then they pressure their child, or they cannot give a healthy mirroring to the child, or encourage the child, or give the child a feeling that he's a beautiful person as he is. So if parents haven't received that, then they cannot give it to the child. So one has to examine that a little bit. And also one has to challenge one's own wrong beliefs that one has taken over from the parents. So one has to look at if a belief that I have inside me, is it a true or not? So one has to question beliefs as well. And then, of course, one has to, look at one's essential nature also. That means meditation is also needed, where you look, you find your essential quality, and find out what is really fulfilling you in life and what is your purpose for you to be here, what you want to do with your life. And this is not just like, as people say, of course, self-care, but it is not just, um, doing something nice like going to giving yourself a massage or going to a spa. And this is not exactly enough. This is part of it, maybe, but you need to find out really what is what gives you joy in life, what not just comforting yourself. No? What is important is to come in touch with love for yourself. And then also at the same time, you feel love to others. Because if you're critical about yourself or negative about yourself, you will also be negative with others. It comes together. So if people who have a self-worth wound, they cannot really love others. So to look and examine what that really means and how does it show in my life, and when I was in touch with an authentic self-love, or when I felt really proud of myself in a healthy way, not the false pride that we sometimes feel that comes out of our ego, where I think how great I am, but an authentic pride which children have when they feel so happy about what they did, and this healthy, in touch with your quality, and this joy about expressing yourself in an authentic way. This is something that we have to connect with in a way. Out of saying yes to yourself, you feel relaxation. And many of us, we are always stressed running after something, and we don't feel at peace inside and restful inside. No? So when you feel self-worth, you have a certain restful quality.
Mm. And I think it can be things that we were told, but it can also be conclusions that we made, right? Like if we reached out for someone and that person wasn't there, then we can make the conclusion as a child, I'm not lovable, or I'm not good enough, or
Well,
something like that.
yes, but basically children, when something goes wrong, they always tend to blame themselves. They cannot blame their parents. So when the parent is absent, then the child automatically feels something must be wrong with me. He cannot feel something is wrong with the parent. That is just developmental, not possible. So the child always tends to blame himself rather than saying, "Yo, it's my parent. My parent had a problem. He has a trauma. That's why he cannot attend to my needs." This way, a child cannot think. So we have to learn this later in life, that actually this is not because I was wrong. This is because my parent could not deal with his own childhood wound, and that's why he could not attend to me. So this is something we have to learn later, because as a child we could not look at it in this way.
Mm. And then to process the feelings also that comes from that,
That's
because
right.
of course only the understanding is not enough, right?
That's right. So that's what we're going to do in the workshop also. We're going to remember a situation where this happens, and then we have to develop a certain capacity to deal with all these unpleasant feelings, because these are unpleasant feelings. It is pain, sadness, anger, frustration, despair, all kind of things. And we often feel overwhelmed by these feelings, or we try to avoid them. So in order to heal the wound, we have to also be ready to face these unpleasant feelings and develop a capacity to be with them and to tolerate them. And then that is basically the healing process. So we have to feel in a safe place where we feel safe enough to let unpleasant feelings come up in us. So this is also some people misunderstand. They think feeling safe means I have to feel good.
Mm.
That is not the same thing. So you have to, feeling safe means I feel safe enough so I can deal with my feelings, which are not so pleasant. Because whenever you touch a wound, it's not so pleasant. And if you don't have the capacity to be with such feelings, then they remain repressed, and then the wound is not healed. So this is what we have to do and what we have to learn. And
Mm.
sometimes we need a support with a friend, with a therapist, with a teacher, or in some other way. We need some loving atmosphere where somebody can just be present with us.
Mm.
And that is different than comforting someone, like in some therapies people do. When you comfort somebody, you're not really helping the person to deal with his issues by himself, because then the person still feels small and unworthy, because they always feel, okay, I need this person because I'm not good enough by myself. So comforting is not a good strategy in therapy.
Mm. Yeah, I think that's a very important point for people who work with people. Uh, and I think this workshop is also very helpful for them. Can you say something more about that? How this wound can play out in the therapist-client relationship or
Yeah,
coach or whatever?
because in therapy, of course, a therapist or in a helping profession, you are always in a position where you are important and great. So often people choose that if they have a unworthiness wound, because then they get appreciation and feedback how good they are, and then they look for that. So it is a bit one of the motivations to work with people is because you want to get the love that you feel you haven't gotten in your childhood. So you want to get it from a client and the appreciation and love that you missed. So it is very important for people who work with people to have a clarity and an awareness of that, where this wound, to which degree this wound is already healed, or where it still plays out in your life, and to be conscious of that.
Mm. And also this urge to help people can actually come from this wound, right?
Yeah, sure. That is a helper syndrome, you know. So the helper syndrome is, you know, if you need help, you always try to help others, no? So if that is what we often do, no? So the helper syndrome is also part of that.
Yeah. Yeah. So I think the important point is that we really need to not avoid the discomfort and be able to tolerate it in ourselves. And then we can also tolerate it in a client. And that's what makes the healing.
Yeah, yeah, right. So
Mm.
it's not about, in that sense, it's not really about helping someone. It's about being present with someone and being a mirror to someone. That's really the job. It's not about helping in the ordinary sense.
Mm. And of course, we all can do that also when we don't work with people, but just in our general life.
When somebody has a pain, you don't need to immediately hug the person. You can just be there with the person and let the person feel I'm here, I'm with you, but I'm not going to save you from your pain, because how are you going to do that?
Mm. And also, the pain is not bad. It's just
No.
a natural
Well, it's
consequence.
unpleasant, certainly unpleasant, but yeah.
Mm. Yeah. So I asked, I had a conversation with a friend before we had this meeting, and I asked if she had any questions around this because we've been talking about it recently. And she wondered about how much of this can we heal within ourselves? Does it have to be sort of an inner work, or is it something we can do in relationship with someone else?
Well,
You,
every work is an inner work. Every work on yourself is always an inner work. With somebody else, you gain a more clarity where your wound is. So the other, whether in a relationship or in a therapy or whatever, or whenever you meet somebody, the other is basically a mirror, reflects to you where your wound are. Because when you're on alone or in meditate alone, you can have great illusions about yourself. And then when you meet somebody in relationship with a therapy, it's a reality check. So the other basically shows you where you are. And then you have to do the inner work. So, but
Mhm,
if you only do it with yourself, the reality check is sometimes missing, you know. So you can feel great about yourself when you're alone in the nature, and again all kind of illusions. But then when you meet somebody, you see, okay, this is my reality.
mhm,
So that is the important part also, no? So it's important to relate to, and it's important to look inside by yourself also.
mm. And I think also with shame and unworthiness, it sort of thrives in secrecy, no? And then when you expose it, uh, then it take some of it off somehow because it's
Yeah,
seen.
yeah, that's right. You can have this kind of self-perpetuating talk, which doesn't lead, it's like you're caught up in a circle
Mm,
where negative self-talk reinforces each other. So you get into a negative loop and you feel worse and worse. And sometimes you need somebody's help to help you to come out of that. So the ability to ask for help and to notice when I'm unable to do it by myself and to learn to ask for help, that is also a very important step in healing,
mm,
because many people, they feel already shame if they ask for help, they feel I'm not good because I'm asking for help. But we all need help. We are living in interdependence. So sometimes we need something from somebody, and sometimes we can do it on our own. So both is needed, doing something on your own and asking for help.
mm. So that's why we invite you to this group where we can explore these topics together with Svagito. And yeah, and then we also see we're not alone in this. We all have this. Just
Nobody, I also have issues like that. So everybody has. Before,
mm,
unless you're enlightened, you're going to have to deal with this in one way or another. And it's good to share and expose it also and to feel I'm not alone here with that.
mm. And then my experience is it kind of shrinks also. It makes it less dramatic and
That's
uh,
right. Yeah.
mm,
Yeah.
yeah. So in this group, we have 2 evenings with Svagito live online, and then we also have a follow-up meeting a month after where we can again reconnect and explore how have we applied this in our lives? Did it change anything? What does this awareness that we gained in the group? What did it do? And how can
Yeah.
I continue to deepen that?
Yeah. And it's good to have also a body where you can exchange things
Mm,
that come up for you, or, where somebody just listens to you. So it's good also during the workshop, we're gonna make a little buddy where you have somebody with whom you can talk and share.
mm,
So it's also a sharing space. It's not just a therapy, but it's also a sharing space, and the meditation we also will do.
mm. Yeah, I wanted to ask you also, you already mentioned, but would you be willing to share something like how was this a topic for you and in your life and what helped you?
Sure, sure. I mean, when I was young, I was really um, quite shy with people and always difficult to express myself. So I learned it slowly, slowly. So in a spiritual community and with a master and in therapy groups, slowly, slowly, I learned to, overcome that. I still remember when I was in my first groups, when somebody told me, "Oh, you're needy," I felt such a shame, To be needy was such a condemnation. And it took me a while to understand to be needy is a human condition, and how it is often in spiritual circles, or it used to be used as an attack,
Mm,
the condemnation if you're needy. Or, we have also in on the spiritual path, we often have this kind of how we should be, Also that is this we learn in spiritual circles, we should be compassionate, or we should do. And then when some anger or hatred or this comes up in us, we feel so much shame. So spiritual circles can also enhance the unworthiness wound, or that we are wrong. So we have to be aware of that. The moment somebody teaches you how you should be, the downside of it is that if something else comes up on you, you feel shame.
mm,
So that is not very healing then. So I'm always alert when people teach how one should be, or what one should do. This is not really helpful,
mm,
And this is often done also in spiritual in the spiritual field, you know.
Yeah, so that's why meditation is important, because that's no agenda, just being with what is right here
That's
as it
right.
is.
That's right.
Okay, so I look forward very much to this
Thank you.
workshop, Svagito.
Thank you, Kandra, for organizing this, and I look
Mm.
forward to see many friends in our meeting.